Jude and David had been best friends since primary school. Their friendship had started in a way neither of them expected. Back then, David's mother worked as a cleaner at Jude's expensive private school. One day, she brought David along because she had no one to watch him at home. Jude found him sitting quietly outside one of the classrooms, sketching a superhero in an old notebook. "You draw?" Jude had asked, fascinated. David had nodded shyly. Jude, who loved movies and storytelling, was immediately drawn to him. Over time, their friendship grew. Even when Jude changed schools and David moved to a public one, they stayed close, meeting on weekends and after school. But as they got older, the gap between their lives became harder to ignore. Jude lived in a mansion, had a personal driver, and traveled abroad every holiday. David lived in a one-bedroom apartment with his widowed mother and 3 younger siblings, working after school to help pay bills. Jude and David sat at their usual roadside suya spot, the smoky aroma of grilled meat mixing with the night air. They had been coming here since they were kids, back when life felt simpler, before responsibilities, expectations, and the growing gap between their worlds. Jude sighed, staring at the busy road. "Sometimes, I wonder what it's like to be you." David laughed, chewing on a piece of spicy meat. "Trust me, you don't want my life. You think struggling to afford food is fun. And you think having money solves everything." Jude countered. "My dad controls my entire life. I can't make a single decision for myself." David smirked. "At least you have options, Jude. Some of us don't." Jude shook his head. "You don't get it. If I say I want to be a filmmaker, my dad will laugh in my face. He expects me to take over his company." No arguments. David leaned back. "At least you have a future secured. Me? I don't even know if I can pay my school fees next semester." They sat in silence, both lost in thought. Then, a raspy voice interrupted them. "You wish to switch lives?" They turned to see an old man sitting nearby, roasting corn over a small fire. His eyes, dark and knowing, seemed to look straight into their souls. David chuckled awkwardly. "Oh, we were just talking, sir." The man picked up a handful of strange-looking powder and let it slip through his fingers into the fire. A burst of blue flames flickered for a second before dying down. "Be careful what you wish for," he said. "Some dreams are better left untouched." Jude scoffed. "If I could live David's life for just a week, I'd do it." David grinned. "And I'd gladly take yours." The old man nodded slowly. "Then so it shall be." Before they could react, the fire flared up again. This time, a wave of heat rushed over them, making them dizzy. The world around them blurred, spinning, shifting. Then, everything went black. Jude woke up to the sound of a crying baby and the strong smell of fried akara. He groaned, rubbing his eyes. Something felt off. The ceiling above him was not his high, white-painted bedroom ceiling. It was low, with patches of brown water stains. The mattress beneath him was thin. And the room, small, cramped, filled with clothes and bags, wasn't his. He sat up fast. His heart pounded. He looked down at himself. He wasn't wearing his usual designer pajamas. Instead, he had on an old t-shirt and faded shorts. He rushed to a small mirror on the wall. And froze. David's face stared back at him. His breath caught. His hands, David's hands, trembled as he touched his new face. What the hell? At that moment, a loud knock came from the door. "David, you're late for work. Get up." Jude's stomach twisted. This isn't a dream. David, meanwhile, was experiencing his own shock. He woke up in a large, soft bed, in a room 3 times the size of his family's entire apartment. The air smelled like lavender. The white curtains danced softly as the morning breeze entered through an open window. For a moment, he thought he was still dreaming. Then, he sat up. His body felt different. Lighter. He looked at his hands. They were smooth, well-manicured, Jude's hands. Slowly, he turned to the mirror on the wall. And there, staring back at him, was Jude's reflection. David's eyes widened. No way. Just then, a knock came at the door. Jude, breakfast is ready, a female voice called. David swallowed hard. This is real. I'm Jude. And just like that, their lives had changed. Given the situation, they gave each other detailed notes of their life. Jude learned how to navigate public transport and budget meals, while David memorized how to act around Jude's friends and house staff. At first, it felt like an adventure. David enjoyed the luxuries of Jude's life: air-conditioned rooms, endless food, and no financial stress. He even got to visit expensive restaurants with Jude's friends, though he had to pretend he was just in a quiet mood to avoid saying something wrong. Jude, on the other hand, quickly realized that struggling wasn't just about lacking money, it was exhaustion, constant worry, and learning how to survive in a world that didn't care about your excuses. But the real problems started soon. The first real problem hit when David, still pretending to be Jude, received a message from Jude's father's secretary. Family business meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. Your dad expects you there. David froze. He had no idea how to act in a business meeting. What if they asked him something he didn't know? What if he said the wrong thing? Meanwhile, Jude had his own problems. He had underestimated how exhausting David's life was. That morning, he had woken up at 5 a.m. to help David's mother cook, then rushed to David's supermarket job, where he spent hours lifting heavy cartons and standing on his feet. By the time he got home, his legs ached, and he could barely keep his eyes open. How do you do this every day? He muttered as he collapsed onto the thin mattress in David's tiny room. Jude sighed. He had always thought struggling was just about not having money. He didn't realize it was also about waking up tired, going to bed tired, and still not being sure if tomorrow would be any better. The next morning, David arrived at Jude's father's office, wearing one of Jude's expensive suits. As soon as he entered the conference room, he knew he was in trouble. Jude's father, Mr. Martins, sat at the head of the table, surrounded by well-dressed executives. David tried to act confident, but his heart pounded. Jude, we've been reviewing the company's quarterly performance, Mr. Martins said. What's your opinion on the new investment strategy? David swallowed. Oh, I think it's good. A brief silence filled the room. One of the executives frowned. Good. In what way? David forced a smile. Well, it's promising. I mean, it has, potential. Mr. Martins gave him a sharp look. You don't sound prepared. David shifted uncomfortably. Sorry, Dad. I just have a lot on my mind. Mr. Martins sighed. That's exactly why you need to focus. You're going to take over this company one day, and I need to know you're ready. David nodded quickly, avoiding further questions as he is already feeling suffocated. By the time the meeting ended, he felt like he had just escaped an exam he hadn't studied for. How does Jude deal with this pressure every day? Meanwhile, Jude was learning that even simple things weren't so simple. On his way to the supermarket job, he realized he had lost his transport fare. He had never begged for money in his life, but today, he had no choice. Please, sir, I just need 200 Nigerian nairas to get to work, he told a stranger at the bus stop. The man gave him a disgusted look. Young boys like you are lazy. Go and work. Jude clenched his jaw. He was trying to work. But this man didn't know that. He ended up trekking to the supermarket, arriving late and drenched in sweat. The manager scolded him, and he nearly lost David's job. That evening, as he walked home, stomach rumbling, he thought about how easy it had been to complain about his own life when he had never experienced real struggle. That night, David called Jude. How did the meeting go? Jude asked. Horrible. Your dad almost caught me. Jude groaned. I can't do this anymore, David. I get it now. I understand why you're always stressed. David sighed. And I get why you feel trapped. Your dad expects you to be perfect, like some kind of robot. They were both silent for a moment. So, what do we do now? Jude finally asked. David exhaled. We end this. We switch back. That night, Jude and David rushed back to the suya spot, hoping to find the old man. The fire was still burning, and the old man sat in the same spot, roasting corn. He didn't look surprised to see them. "You've had enough?" he asked without looking up. "Yes. Please, change us back," Jude begged. The old man chuckled. "I warned you, some dreams are better left untouched." David sighed. "We get it now. We were both ungrateful in our own ways." The old man nodded. He took a handful of the strange powder and tossed it into the fire. The blue flames rose once more, the heat washing over them like before. Everything spun. Then, darkness. Jude woke up in his familiar bed, the soft mattress and cool AC reminding him he was home. He jumped up and ran to the mirror. His own face stared back at him. At the same time, David woke up in his cramped room, hearing his mother's voice calling from the kitchen. He looked down at his rough hands and grinned. They were back. For the first time, they saw their lives differently. Jude realized that wealth didn't mean freedom, and David learned that poverty wasn't just about lacking money, it was about the constant weight of responsibility. But most importantly, they both understood that no life was perfect. This story teaches us that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Every life has its struggles, and true happiness comes from understanding and appreciating your own journey.
Every story holds a lesson. What did this one reveal to you? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed it, like, share, and subscribe for more timeless tales. Until next time, keep searching for meaning in every story.